super happy to welcome this next man in. You know him from projects like KXM, Pound Hound, Super Shine. He's played with a ton of amazing live bands and legendary guys on a bunch of different records and tours. But we all know him for his main gig being the bass player, singer, and songwriter for the incredible band King's X, Mr. Dug Pinnick. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Life is good.
Awesome. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Black Flag. It's hard to pick a King's X song because there's 5 million incredible songs. But
Awesome.
doing my research, I was like, first of all, I love the song, and it's one of your top 10 songs on Spotify and all those sort of
Yeah.
things, which is interesting for a couple of reasons I'll get into later. But for me, this is one of those songs that encapsulates what King's X is: heavy riffs, really great catchy choruses and verses, and all of the great backing vocals and the whole vocal harmony thing. So like everything you guys were really known for, I think, is in this song. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I pulled it up a few minutes ago just to listen to it before we start talking. And I thought to myself, that represents us pretty much, in many different areas.
Yeah, it was interesting because when I was looking back at this record, this came out in the 80s when it was late 80s, when sequencing was really important. And this song was like kind of the eighth, I think it's the eighth song on the record, which I thought is very odd because this is like one of the best songs on the record. Do you remember how that happened, or is it just
No, I
who
never.
knows?
I had nothing to do with sequencing. That was those first four records, especially.
Yeah, yeah.
No, we didn't. There was a few things in the camp that controlled us and did their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. But this song, it's such a great song, and the thing that everybody talks about King's X, and one of the most legendary bands of all time, influenced everybody from grunge to metal to there's not a band that doesn't love King's X that's in the hard rock world at all. And it's amazing how many different people love what you guys did because it was so different. And the good thing is, because it was so different, it's amazing. Of course, the bad thing is it was so different that people probably couldn't grasp it as much as they should have.
True.
But when you guys were putting together the band in the beginning, and had this Beatles harmonies and this heavy music, and it was something really different. Was it something that all you guys wanted to do, or did it just kind of come together? Like how did that whole piece of it kind of all come into focus?
We actually wanted to be as heavy as fuck. And when we sang, it always sounded like the Beatles. And it just kind of became the foundation of us. And then we danced with all kinds of different ideas on top of it and different genre attitudes and things like that. But that's the bottom line is we just like heavy music.
Yeah, and it was so different and unique. I mean, when I first heard you guys, I was just blown away. I've never heard anything like this before. Like this is so incredible. And then seeing you, I believe the first time I saw you was at it was either Woodstock or Radio City in Anaheim. I can't remember which one, but I would put that in my all-time top 25 shows
Oh,
ever.
wow.
And I've seen 6,000 of them. So it was
Wow.
one of those things where you guys just had something special that only a few bands can do. I think U2 has it, Metallica at times has it, where the band and the audience are one being, one thing.
Yeah.
There's no barriers or anything, and that's what came across for me, especially that first show. It's like, oh my gosh, this is really incredible. Again, is that just something that just happens? Do you guys think about these things?
No, not really. It's just that as long as we've been a band, even if we're playing for 10 people, half of them just lose their mind and the other half don't care. And it's been that way from day one. But the thing is, there's nothing in between, never in between. People are just like, they're not interested and they just kind of drink and walk out the door or whatever. But the people that get it, they come down front, they're standing, they're jumping,
Oh yeah.
and these people, many of them are still following us 46 years later. It's pretty cool to run into people or people post something they saw us back in a club back in '85, and they're still following us. There's something that we connected with a certain type of people. I think it's the artistic side of it, and there's a there's an organic side to us. I think that a lot of people are attracted to. And another thing is, I think that we do what we learn from everyone else is to draw from everywhere to try to make a song rather than stick to a genre or stick to a thing, and we went through our things, we sounded like U2 for a year or so, I was singing like I was Bono. We were doing the new wave stuff and pogoing around, and listening to Cyndi Lauper, that was a second in our life. But, we ended up realizing that it doesn't matter what kind of sound we were going for, it always ended up heavy as fuck, and we sounded like the Beatles singing it. So we just
Yeah,
we just kept going.
that's the uniqueness of it too. And man, the amount of, I mean, you could go on and on. There's so many different people that love King's X or are hugely influenced by them. But the thing that I found really interesting just is the wave of different people. Like you had, I remember a show you guys played at. It was called the Palace at one time. I don't know. It's still in
Oh
Hollywood. It's
yeah,
across the street from Capitol Records. And it's an
yeah.
incredible show, sold out. And you told me afterwards, I never saw him that whole night, but Chris Cornell was standing right in front of you, the first row, like bowing the whole show. And you're like, they're going, Chris Cornell's just like bowing in front of me. What's going on here?
It was a surreal moment. Him and Maynard was there, and a couple guys from Fishbone and Alan Johannes from Queens of Stone Age. They all came backstage and hung out with us right before we went on, and we didn't know. We never met them. They just barged into our dressing room and sat down, and we just hung out. I sat next to Chris is here and Maynard is here. Never met him before. I'm losing my mind going, dude, and we're all freaking out on each other, which was so cool. We were all very insecure, kind of like, I like the way you sing. I like the way you sing. I like your band. I like your band. And we were all doing that. And it was just so, I think if anybody had cameras, they would have just said, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I always loved about the love for you guys was, it's like you said, Chris Cornell and Maynard and all the guys from Pearl Jam love you.
Yeah.
Dimebag Darrell was a massive,
Oh,
massive fan. I know
yeah.
you know. I had many conversations with Dime about how
Oh,
incredible King's X was, and he loved you. And then the one thing that really blew me away. I mean, all that stuff blows you away, right? It's like
yeah.
we're just doing it to do it. We're just fans and all this stuff. And when you see who's reacting, it's always really amazing. But VH1 did the top 100 hard rock artists of all time, like
Yeah.
sometime in the 90s. And you guys were number 83, which I was like, damn right they should be. So I'm watching. I don't know anything about. There's just a special that comes on.
Hmm.
People were introducing the bands, and the guy that introduced you as the number 83 band and went on for about 5 solid minutes about how much he loved you was Richie Blackmore, which
Yeah.
blew me away because Blackmore, number one, I mean, one of the greatest guitar players of all time. But
Yeah.
number two, you never see him do press or really talk about anything, especially back
He
then.
hates everybody.
I know.
He
And then I saw this. I'm like, wait, what? This is insane.
he told me he only listens to classical music and King's X.
Yeah. I
And
love that.
Ingve told me that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything Richie Blackmore does, Ingve will do the
Well,
same
there it
thing for.
is. Yeah, Richie called me up back on the Gretchen, I think around when the Gretchen record was out, and asked me if I wanted to join the band. They were looking for a new singer, and I told him no. I got my own. I'm happy in my own band.
Yeah, I can only imagine that's happened a bunch of times. So Black Flag is the last album with Sam Taylor. And of course, if you
Hmm.
don't know Sam Taylor is the producer of the first four King's X records, was kind of he wanted to be the fourth member. And there was definitely, he's also managing, and there's a whole lot of things going on there. It wasn't the best of relationships for sure. So when you're making this record, the last one, and it's a phenomenal record,
Thank you.
did you know that this was going to be the last one with him? Like, what was the vibe in the studio where you're
Mm-mm.
making the record?
No, at that point, I think we were getting used to making records with him. That was the fourth record, and I don't remember a lot of drama making that record. It was To me, it was pretty easy to make because I don't have any emotional baggage with it when I play it back. The first couple records, first three records, there's too much emotion behind it. I can barely listen to them. But this
Oh
one,
wow.
I just look. For me, the fourth record was like, it's like when YouTube put out three weird albums and then they put out Pride in the Name of Love, which was basically everything U2 sounded like. It was that's it, the blueprint. And I think that our fourth record was like that. It was like a blueprint. This is King's X. Nothing new is coming out of this. And and I think it was like the end of a songwriting era and a whole an era for us because after he left and we saw the world in a more of a uh, we saw the world as it was basically, and we got kind of pissed, and there came Dogman,
Yeah.
you know, and that Dogman was like a reaction of the first four records. It's like, okay, that was what it was, but this is really who we are. When you see us live, we like to blow your head off.
A
Those
hundred
records,
percent.
those records are so weak to me that to this day it's still difficult. Even though, you know, nowadays because of streaming and what kids listen to music on, all those old records sound great.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was completely blown away by all of those records, but this one
Yeah,
for me, and you're right. I think this was for me the first. Okay, this is really what King's X is.
yeah.
Like more so than the other ones, you could
Hmm.
kind of tell that you guys were maturing as songwriters and kind of getting your direction in. I'm just gonna guess there was a little bit less direction maybe from Sam on this one, but I could be wrong.
Well, there wasn't a lot of direction from him as much as a lot of fighting
Yeah,
over what to do. It's like Ty and I both, everything we wrote usually was pretty close to what it was going to sound like. And Sam would come in and try to dissect the songs in a for my songwriter's purpose, like if you got the riff Black Flag, well, he'll go, that's a great riff, but let's try it this way, this way, this way. And after you did it 20 times, you're pissed off because the original one worked and you wasted all
yeah,
that time. So we used to struggle with that kind of a thing. We always felt like our songs weren't appreciated more than, oh, here's my new song. Okay, let's break it down, you know, and now we're not like that. We just kind of all that's gone. When Sam left, it was more like a relaxed thing where we just laid the shit down and didn't worry that dad was going to yell at us because we didn't work so hard, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. And you can see that on Dogman. And Dogman definitely is probably the heaviest of all the King's X
Yeah,
records.
yeah.
And we talked about Dogman on this podcast with Hal Sparks, who probably is the biggest King's X fan in the entire world, I think.
I love
And
Hal.
he went on and on and on as he should. But and that's a great record. And you did that with Brendan O'Brien, which is
Yeah,
like night and day, I think, compared to
it was.
what you're doing before. So I love Brendan. He actually the first record he ever produced was on Metal Light, a band called Johnny Law in like
Oh.
1991 or something. But
Wow. He always had that sound, you know, that he was way ahead of everybody else. Anything I heard that he produced or mixed, even when he worked with Rick Rubin, it had that real dry Slayer sound, which was
yep.
just like in your face. Nothing was eerie like that. Nobody listened to music raw, which was
Yeah.
so cool.
But you can hear what's going on too, which is good. And
Yeah.
Dogman, especially the bottom end on that record, is like
Yeah.
booming. I imagine that made you pretty happy.
It did. I was really happy. It kind of morphed the guitar a little bit, you know, but we just dealt with it.
Yeah, it was interesting because when bands make records and you're in certain headspaces,
Hmm.
I've sadly my favorite Black Sabbath record is Sabotage, and I've
Mm.
sadly learned over the years that that's probably all of those guys in that band's least favorite album
Oh.
because of what was going on with the band. They had all sort of
Hmm.
problems with lawyers and managers, and they were all really angry, and
Yeah.
so they don't like that record. But I think this is the greatest Black Sabbath record ever. Um, but when you're writing this and Black Flag is just it's an interesting lyric and an interesting title, also looking back at where you guys were kind of about to make this transition. Do you
Hmm.
think any of that creeped into the songwriting at all on that record, specifically the
Um,
song?
I don't know because Ty wrote the lyrics and well, he wrote the song. Um, and I'm sure at that time we were struggling in all of the swirl of craziness that was going on around us that we really couldn't pinpoint. And that's, I think, the song for me personally. It's like, yeah, we saw the dark cloud, but we just didn't know what it was, you know. But at the end of the day, Ty could be making up lyrics just because you don't have nothing else to say.
I know
You
that's
know,
always
you
the
never. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, just pulling back the curtain. Sometimes that you look at these lyrics and like, oh my gosh, this is still meaningful. And obviously, lyrics mean different things to different people, and that's why
Yeah.
a lot of songwriters don't like to like it's whatever you think it's going to be, which is
Right.
fine. But sometimes you pull back the curtain and realize like, oh, it's not all that complicated and deep,
No,
really.
it's not. I love to tell anything, any lyrics that I write. I love to explain them because all the lyrics that I write have a whole story behind them. And but I don't know what Ty's story is on Black Flag because he wrote that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Uh, you guys have been doing this as these three members for an awfully long time, which is a pretty incredible thing because bands,
Hmm.
as you all know, don't last. And I like to I talk about this a lot on this podcast and just in general. You talk about, oh, hey, this band, never became huge, whether it's, Fates Warning or King's X or, whatever band you want to pick, right?
Yeah.
But they're all Armored Saint, but they're all have this long, long, long career. And I look at things as a marathon, not a sprint. Like, yeah, it would have been nice to have, one of these bands have a platinum record when they first came out. But where would that have taken the band after that? What because you see so many bands that had a lot of success early, they just kind of faded
Hmm.
away because
Yeah.
of all that. And that's one thing I love about, all bands like you guys. You've been doing it
Hmm.
for a long time, same band members. And when you look at the marathon, you're still putting out great music. You're still phenomenal live. You're still performing at a really high level. And that to me is if you want to call this a game, that's like winning the game.
Yeah.
Like doing this.
Yeah.
Well, what keeps you guys, the three of you, still wanting to do this and still it seems like having a good time doing it and putting out incredible music?
I do think it's our lack of success because it's sort of like playing a video game that you just can't put the thing down. You just gotta, you keep losing, but I'm gonna figure this out. And after a while, uh, you realize that you're not gonna win. So enjoy the game and learn from it and hone in your skills and fucking show everybody how great you can do it. And that seems, I mean, that's my attitude now. It's like, as long as we've been going at it, there's a magic that we have because that no band has until they reach those many years, like ZZ Top or U2, when
Yep.
you walk in the door and you see the band play, and it's like, I mean, Paul Schaefer said that he jammed with us one time. We did Born to Be Loved, and we had him play and Felicia play. And when we ended the sound check doing the song, he just stopped and went to the mic and said, "Dude, I've never played with people in life like this." He said, "You guys play like you're in each other's head." He says, "I've never experienced this before." And he was shocked. And we were shocked that he would feel that. And I'm going, wow. And that's kind of the magic I'm learning that it isn't it what it is it's just like if you're married and you're having sex, sooner or later, y'all got it down.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I think that's a really interesting point because it does feel, it's always felt so natural. And yeah, there's something special with what you guys do that I think comes across to really everybody. And we've talked so much about how many super famous people are into what you guys have done, which is pretty impressive, but also just the fan base is always there, a very loyal fan base.
Yeah. I do believe one thing about fame and fortune also is that the three of us, because of who we are, I think the universe said, no, no, we can't let that happen because it'll kill everything that's coming out. And it would have. Ty always says if we got famous and rich, we would have broke up a long time ago. Um,
Yep.
and that's just and also I look back at those days too and realize just what I went through making those first two or three records with the business and the management and all the stuff that went on in my life. I don't know if I would have been able to deal with another 20 years of someone manipulating and controlling my life and not allowing me to be me because I was trying to find out who I was while I was writing those songs. when nobody's buying them. So I'm thinking, well, I must be a horrible songwriter, and all that kind of stuff. We got therapy, and the other thing is, I like to do things, give things to people and stuff. And people would have used me and took everything that I had, and I would have had drama and all kinds of crap in my life. And I'm really glad that never happened. And the other
Yeah,
thing
that's
too is, and also that the cool thing is that we continually did what we did, and I still get a paycheck, and I don't have to get on the street corner, so I'm good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I say, that the marathon over the sprint, and you're right,
Right,
because you see so many bands that blow up really big, and then they blow up because of all the other pressures and stuff, and
right.
and that would be sad for us as fans to lose the specialness of what you guys do.
Oh, thanks.
So
Well, our
I'm
King's X fans are some of the most awesomest people. I mean, it blows my mind how deep they go, with our music in so many areas. I watch people crying when we're doing songs, and people saying that these songs got them through high school or grade school or a divorce or something. And I know that happens to all bands, but it's just so nice to feel that you're actually doing something that you love to do, because I don't go out there to do that. I go out there just to make music because I like to do it.
yeah.
What comes along with it is blows my mind every time. It's never stopped.
And that's why it works, because ultimately
Hmm.
that's any band. Like I tell bands all the time, like listen to your influences, but don't copy them. Just be
Right.
yourself. And that's what you guys have done tremendously for over all these years. So I'm I guess I'm happy you're still doing it, and still doing it at a high
Thank
level.
you.
And King's X fans, you're right. I When you meet King's X fans, they're not just fans. They're like super fans. Like there's a connection that you guys have that's pretty special with you and your fans. That we talked about it earlier, but describe like that. How does that, when you're up on stage, can you really feel that?
Yeah, because when they sing every song, it's sometimes, I mean, there's songs where I just back up and let them sing it. And they sing it with such enthusiasm. And also, you can tell those people that don't know the song, you could see they're so like, I don't know this song. And which means next time you come, you better know that song. I mean, there's peer pressure like a motherfucker out there. It's
Yeah,
awesome. And what I mean? It's
100%.
it's like if everybody's standing up and there's a few people sitting there, I don't mind people sitting down because I want to sit. I don't want to stand and watch a band. I'm old and lazy. But they'll make them people get up, and I'm going, no, 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 let them sit.
No, they should get up and move around. Come on, it's a great show. Yeah, I
Okay,
just I just love all that stuff, and again, that you guys are still making such great music, and still phenomenal live. It's
thanks.
yeah, keep, like you said, keep doing it, because it really is a gift to all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're the ones creating it. I'm just merely listening. My job's pretty easy when it comes to that
Cool.
important things. Uh, yeah. So when you guys, like you said, you guys wanted to be super heavy when you started out with, like, what
Hmm.
was your first? What was your? Because I know all the stuff that you grew up with. By the way, a lot of people described you as, and some of your early stuff, like Sly and the Family Stone. The first record I ever bought was a Sly and the Family Stone single, "If You Want Me to Stay." So
Ah.
that was always interesting. But what was the heavy stuff that you got into, kind of forced you to go, or not forced, but had you go in that direction?
All the time. From Blue Cheer to Led Zeppelin to just anything. The thing about metal was that as a black kid growing up listening to rock and roll, black rock and roll basically in the 50s, then all of a sudden a bunch of white kids my age starts making soul music on 12, and it was just heavier, and so I gravitated to it, and always everything that I did always had to have that heavier edge, even though I didn't know what metal was or anything. It just had to be aggressive. I felt that aggression that I wanted to put into everything that I did, and I pushed everything. And by the time we got to King's X, I was still trying to write songs like Sly and the Family Stone and U2, but Ty had massive distortion. And we were still just rocking this stuff really hard. Even when we did Beatles cover songs, we still did them full on distortion. I Want to Hold Your Hand, but it was like it was brutal, and we just did that. So happy music was something I loved, and Masters of Reality was a record that just really touched me, just in a spiritual, a musical spiritual way. It was like it had an emotion to it that was this. It was had this humongous emotional feeling sonically, and when Tony Iommi would go up high and he'd get that big fat tone with Geezer way up high like that, it just permeated all through the room and made the house shake. I mean, on our new record, our latest record, All God's Children, we purposely did that. The riff is Black Sabbath. It's like we even did it in a high register to get that tone. There's just something about that. They were magical in how they got tones out of tune a little bit to get
Yep.
that humongous sound. So in time, I know he was into all that kind of stuff. He's 13 years younger than me, but he was like 11 and 12 years old when I was in my 20s, but we were both listening to the same music. And we were listening to soul music at the same time. And he was listening to bluegrass, and bluegrass is drop D tuned. And so when he started writing tunes with King's X, he came up with Pleiades, I think it was, yeah. And he dropped D the guitar and played this song, and he put distortion on it. And all of a sudden, we're drop D tuned, and all of a sudden, there's like the whole world is drop D tuned,
Yep.
with this heavy thing. And it's just, we just do what we like to hear. And what's funny thing is when Ty played that song for us, he said, I don't know if you guys are gonna like this. It's just kind of the tuning is weird, but I like it. It's kind of what I feel. And when I heard it and Jerry heard it, we went, okay, this is working. And I literally went home, and for 4 weeks, I think I wrote 10 songs in drop D tuning. And the first record was between me and Ty just diving into this new thing we had learned how to do.
That's amazing. And,
So
and Pleiades is an
yeah,
amazing song too. I mean, everything off
thanks.
that first record is great.
Thanks. Thanks.
Who are your bass heroes?
Um, in the beginning was Jamie Jamerson, with the fingers because he was soul music, that's what I did. But before that, I was 10 years or 8 years old, I think it was. I heard this song called Why Do Fools Fall in Love by Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. And it was an upright bass, but I loved the sound of it. And I remember I memorized the bass line as a child, and because I've always seen upright basses on TV, watching Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Elvis and stuff like that. But so I like bass and I was into it. But one day I heard Yes, and uh, and I heard the Who live at Leeds. And I heard this bass tone that was like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? And I hadn't started playing bass yet either. I was around 23 at that time, and I didn't even know uh, anything about it, but I loved that sound. And when I finally started playing bass, I immediately gravitated to John Entwistle, Chris Squire, and Jamie Jamerson. I wanted to try to be a combination of a soulful bass player that played with his pick, but it had a lot of distortion, which is like that combination wasn't supposed to work, right?
Well, it did work perfectly, actually. So
For me, it did, yeah.
that's incredible. That's super incredible. Well, dude, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. It's been awesome, and we could sit here and talk forever. But there's
We can.
the unfortunately the podcast guys only allow me a certain amount of time. I keep arguing with them for that. But that was awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. It's always good to talk
And
to you,
and
Brian. I
and
love
you
talking to
can't
you.
leave. You can't leave because we have to